On today's topic, the Aboleth, a creature of unfathomable malice, enjoys enslaving lesser beings through telepathic mind control and disturbing mutagenic infections. The very touch of the Aboleth slime can rob a creature of its ability to breathe air, while also converting its skin into a delicate gelatinous membrane that deteriorates out of water. Sadly, those taken by the Aboleth are doomed to serve forever in nightmarish underwater cities until eaten alive or subjected to deranged biological experimentation. The Aboleth has a long eel-like body. It has a distinctive slime-covered skin and several tentacles that it uses to grab and drag its prey. Now let's see what he can do. First up is a mucus cloud. While underwater, the Aboleth is surrounded by transformative mucus. A creature that touches the Aboleth or that hits it with a melee attack while within 5 feet of it must make a DC 14 Constitution saving throw. On a failure, the creature is deceased for 1d4 hours. Here's a kicker. The deceased creature can breathe only underwater. Not only are you getting a spoonful of nasty mucus, now you can't even escape to the surface, trapping you what professionals call the no-no zone. Next up is probing telepathy. If a creature communicates telepathically with the Aboleth, then the Aboleth learns the creature's greatest desires, if the Aboleth can see the creature. The implications here are quite severe. Just make sure to keep your fetishes in check when he speaks to you telepathically, and all should be good. In the off chance you can't, looking at you, Steven, just be aware that he now has some leverage over you. Unless you kill him, of course. Next up is tentacle.
Yeah, boy.
No, not that kind of tentacle. Now that we satisfied our degeneracy, let's get back on topic. When the tentacle hits, if the target is a creature, it must succeed a DC 14 Constitution saving throw or become deceased. The decease has no effect for 1 minute and can be removed by any magic that cures diseases. After 1 minute, the deceased creature's skin becomes translucent and slimy. The creature can't regain hit points unless it is underwater, and the disease can be removed only by heal or another disease curing spell of 6th level or higher. When the creature is outside a body of water, it takes 1d12 acid damage every 10 minutes unless moisture is applied to the skin before 10 minutes have passed. Make sure you bring some cocoa butter when you fight this thing. First, he removes your ability to breathe outside water, then he makes sure you get that sweet tan you were looking for. It might just burn a bit more than what you originally wanted. The tail attack is your average I swing, I hit, and we're done. And then we have the good stuff. His go-to move, and the feature truly defines him: Enslave. 3 times per day, the Aboleth targets one creature it can see within 30 feet of it. The target must succeed on a DC 14 Wisdom saving throw, or be magically charmed by the Aboleth until the Aboleth dies or until it is on a different plane of existence from the target. The charmed target is under the Aboleth's control and can't take reactions. And the Aboleth and the target can communicate telepathically with each other over any distance. Just like Great Britain, the Aboleth uses authority to recruit the quote-unquote manpower it needs to create this kingdom. So make sure you're on the 14 and above numbers when you're making your save, or you might join the labor force. Now this is by all accounts a legendary creature. Through Detect and Tail Swipe are standard forms of interaction or attacks with legendary actions, the Aboleth has a winning jewel known as Psychic Drain. This ability targets one creature charmed by the Aboleth. The creature then takes 3d6 psychic damage, and the Aboleth regains hit points equal to the damage the creature takes. The Aboleth could have some weakened servants that no longer have any value except for food or emergency healing, tucked away in some secret hidey hole. Now, since this feature doesn't specify range, you can use this as a safety measure. Say you heal X amount of damage you deal to these creatures. Of course, within reason, because you don't want to piss off your players. Speaking of pissing off your players, let's talk about their lair actions. Our first action is the Aboleth can cast Phantasmal Force. No components required. It targets any numbers of creatures it can see within 60 feet of it. While maintaining concentration on this effect, the Aboleth can't take any other lair actions. Now the good news is, for a player, if you succeed your saving throw, you are immune to this effect for the next 24 hours. Granted, you can choose to fail it if you want to. I don't know why you do it, but you can. This spell will devastate the party if they all fail to save. The illusion could be anything, a creature attacking them, a horde of piranhas, or a loved one. With the use of telepathic probing, this feature will be a deadly and powerful roleplay opportunity. The second lair action effect cools the water within 90 feet of the Aboleth, surge outwards into a grasping tide. Any creature within 20 feet of any pool of water that the Aboleth can see and is targeting must succeed a DC 14 saving throw or be pulled 20 feet to the water and knocked prone. Pretty straightforward. Designed to pull you into the no-no zone, disrupting team's positioning, and it can be deadly depending on lair design. Then we move to the third lair action. Water in the Aboleth's lair magically becomes a conduit of the creature's rage. The Aboleth can target any number of creatures it can see in such waters within 90 feet of it. A target must succeed a DC 14 wisdom saving throw or take 2d6 psychic damage. Your average damage dealing lair action, limited to the no-no zone, as long as you don't go in for a dip. You should be fine. Now we move on to the regional effects. The first one being, underground surfaces within 1 mile of the Aboleth's lair are slimy and wet and are considered difficult terrain. Perfect for encounters that rely on movement, such as versus range units. Just don't ask where the slime is coming from or what it is. Water sources within 1 mile of the lair are supernaturally fouled. Enemies of the Aboleth that drink such water vomit it within minutes. Like gamer girl bathwater, it can be poisonous if ingested. The poison condition can be a great way to enhance the difficulty of the dungeon. And then we have the most beautiful one. As an action, the Aboleth can create an illusionary image of itself within 1 mile of its lair. The copy can appear in any location the Aboleth has seen or been before. Specifically, the kick bread and butter here is, it can appear in any place a charmed creature can see currently. Once created, the image lasts as long as the Aboleth maintains concentration as if concentrating on a spell. Although the image is intangible, it looks, sounds, and can move like the Aboleth. The Aboleth can sense, speak, and use telepathy from the image's position as if present at that position. If the image takes any damage, it disappears. This should and must be used in every opportunity it can get, even if the illusion stays hidden. To use telepathic probing on as many players as possible will enhance the experience of the encounter later down the line. You could use this to have the Aboleth slowly manipulate the party, increasing the intensity of the dungeon crawl. Now that all of that is out of the way, let's talk about some settings. Our first setting is an underwater city called Marthis, which, just so happens, is ruled by an ancient and powerful Aboleth named Nethratis. The city is filled with all manner of underwater creatures, including merfolk, dolphins, and various types of fish. The Aboleth's palace is made of coral and pearl, and is surrounded by a massive school of brightly colored fish. The Aboleth is known for her intelligence and her use of mind control on the other inhabitants of the city. Because of this, she is feared and respected by all who live in Marthis. The city's forces could include powerful aquatic magical creatures such as water elementals and aquatic dragons, which are summoned and or controlled by the Aboleth. These magical creatures could provide formidable offensive and defensive capabilities for your encounters. For a simpler and more straightforward questline, the Aboleth is a large ancient creature that has lived for centuries in the depths of a village lake. The villagers have long been aware of the Aboleth's presence in the lake, but they have always been careful to avoid it. However, recent events have caused the Aboleth to become stuck near the village. Perhaps a landslide or earthquake has damaged the underwater tunnels and caves that the Aboleth normally use to move about, trapping it in a small area near the village. Alternatively, the Aboleth may have been injured by a hunter or fisherman, and is now unable to move far from the shallows of the lake. Regardless of the reason, the Aboleth is now confined in a small area near the village, and its presence is causing unease among the villagers. Some of them have begun to report strange dreams and hallucinations, while others become inexplicably ill and have fallen under the Aboleth's thrall. The village leaders must now decide what to do about the Aboleth before its presence causes even more harm to their community. One could also flip the script here and say the villagers know nothing of the Aboleth, and the Aboleth is making them dig a path for it to escape slowly by turning the villagers into tools. A creature we will cover in another episode down the line. Let's talk strategy. Firstly, the Aboleth should never be by itself. As a creature of vast intellect, it would have some sort of loyal guard at its flanks. Depending on the PC's levels, you can make this creature be whatever fits your difficulty. The Aboleth can transform other creatures into aquatic forms of themselves, so it would not be strange to find a mutated troll. I would recommend to increase the range of Enslaved to 120 to make it fit the exact same range as your telepathy. After probing telepathy, the Aboleth should eventually choose the perfect candidate for its Enslaved feature. In combat, enslaving a PC will give the Aboleth a huge advantage, while Chulz or your chosen creature keep the front line busy. Once the Aboleth has reached half its hit points, have it retreat to a safe lair underwater through an underwater tunnel. If the players wish to pursue, use a combination of your swimming speed and the reach with the tentacles to your advantage. If the tentacles disease effective as well, perhaps make the lair about a minute away, unless your players have a way to remove the disease. Regardless, you're making them waste resources. If you feel your creature's underwhelming, you can also give the tentacle attacks the ability to grapple and restrain. This will obviously make the foe way more durable and powerful to face. In conclusion, the Aboleth is one of the powerhouses of the Dungeons & Dragons realm. I'm sure you will find the perfect way to torture your players with this creature. If you enjoyed this content, please leave a like, follow, and subscribe. I would love to know how you run the Aboleths in your world in the comment section below. Peace.